Yo, kings, queens, and in-betweens, what's good? Got a couple of hours before the storm rolls in. Just lots of storms rolling in these days. So, as the title says, size matters. That's the joke. Good night, everybody. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba. Anyway, moving on. Yeah, so they're obviously clickbait title to be silly. There are a few things that I wanted to chat about for some more beginner stuff as far as where does size actually matter when it comes to motorcycles. So there are definitely a few different areas where this makes a big difference. And we're going to start off with the first one being what I'm wearing on my dome. My helmet. Does size matter when it comes to your helmet? 100%. Like, it is one of the biggest things that size matters. The fit of your helmet is going to affect so much of what you do and so much of your safety and so much of your comfort on a motorcycle. You can't just grab a helmet and like throw it on your head and be like, oh, I just fit this over my head, I'm like ready to roll now. It doesn't really work like that. The fit of the helmet needs to be very specific. Okay? If it's squeezing the top of your head so much, you're gonna get a headache in like 5 minutes. Guess what? Not a good time. If it's too loose, it's gonna rattle around on your head a bunch, and you're gonna get a headache in like 5 minutes. Guess what? Not a good time. The fit of your helmet. Now, obviously I can't speak to every head-shaping person out there, right? That being said, you're gonna want the cheek pads to be squeezing your cheeks like that aunt you haven't seen in like 10 years who just still thinks you're 8 years old and just wants to squeeze your face, right? She wants to give you that little smoochy kiss face, right? Like, you kind of almost want that type of squeeze so it stays nice and secure on your head and on your face and doesn't move around too much, and it feels comfortable and secure. You're also going to want to make sure that chin strap is strapped, because otherwise it might just fly off your head, and what good is that? You know, it's a brain bucket. It should be covering your brain. If it flies off, it's not really going to be very effective, is it? So that's another thing to keep in mind. Helmet size matters big time. Get fitted properly. Sit with somebody who's going to really walk you through the feel of the helmet. Now, that has nothing to do with safety ratings of the helmet, which is a whole other topic, but that's a little bit outside of my expertise because I don't have any. But it's also, I hate being right next to someone, but it's also something that should be considered greatly when purchasing a helmet. Don't buy some dumpy piece of plastic with like leftover cooler styrofoam that's used as the impact resistance on it, because that's not going to be any good for anything. Least of all, taking a big bonk on your dome if you happen to fall off the bike. So keep that in mind as well. But yeah, helmet size makes a difference. The next thing we're going to talk about where size matters is the bike itself. How much does it weigh? How tall is the seat height? How big is the motor? How powerful is it? These are all size matters topics, okay? You need to consider when you're getting a bike so many different factors. And the size of the bike is going to be a big old factor for just about everyone. If the bike is too tall for you and you're just starting out, guess what? You're going to be miserable. You're going to be nervous every time you have to come to a stop. You're going to feel all thrown off the moment there's even the slightest incline in a road, because that incline in that road is going to throw off your seat height, right? If you're uphill or downhill, the seat height is now changed by whatever the angle that is and however many inches that's going to be. And then maybe someplace you felt comfortable tiptoeing before, you won't feel comfortable at this angle, right? So you got to consider seat height for the bike. It's going to make a big difference. Now, granted, I'm not saying that you can't ride a bike that's taller than something you could flat foot or tiptoe. That's That's not what I'm saying at all. But you need to understand your comfort level, what your riding situation looks like as far as do you live in a really hilly area? Well, guess what? That's going to make way more of a difference for you than it would be for somebody who lives somewhere where it's really flat, because you're going to be dealing with those hills on a regular basis. So it's definitely something you want to consider, is the seat height of the motorcycle. So after seat height of the motorcycle, let's talk about weight of the motorcycle. Let's say you have a motorcycle that's low enough that you could flat foot and your feet feel nice and comfortable on it, and that's awesome and great. You still have to deal with the weight of the bike. Some bikes that are really easy to flat foot, some cruisers, they're heavy, dude. Like, they are very heavy machines, and that's something that when you're going to park it, when you're going to go put it away in a garage, when you're going to pretty much do anything in a parking lot, like, that weight is going to affect big time. You're going to have to move it around. You're not going to have the benefit of the motor moving it for you. You know what I mean? So, man, a heavy bike is hard to move when it's not going. Like, the motor, when you're on a motorcycle and you're moving, man, the engine's doing all that work, and it can feel like you're floating on a cloud, especially if you get those big cruisers with some nice beefy suspension, and they're just so comfy. You can just sit back, relax, and let yourself go, as the tribe says. So, yeah, that's cool. But when you're moving slow, like I'm at this light and I'm just standing here, man, my Ninja 400, super light for me. Like, I'm good. Flat-footed, nice and light, I can move it around, no problem. If it was something bigger and heavier, like if I was on some Harley Road King or a Honda Goldwing or something that really carries a whole bunch of weight, I wouldn't be as relaxed, I'd say, for me. And I'm decently strong, like I can hold my own weight and stuff like that, but it's going to make a difference. It's definitely going to make a big difference. So that is certainly something to consider. Now, the other thing where size matters is the CCs. How powerful is your bike? How big is the motor on your bike? I am way too close to this car in front of me, so I'm going to slow it down. That's going to be my next topic, by the way. So we're learning as we're going here, folks. But yeah, how powerful is the bike? Right? Is it something that's super powerful where a tiny mistake, uh-oh, there's a box in the road, if this car hits it, it flies up at me, what am I going to do? Ah! Alright, we made it. Anyway, oh man, I have my camera way too close. Oh, all the out front views are going to be so close. Anyway, yeah, small mistakes on powerful bikes turn into big mistakes. That's definitely going to be the thing, man. It's a small turn of the wrist on a bike that doesn't have a lot of power. Oh, it's going to toss you forward a little bit and make you bump around in your seat a little bit, maybe. But that being said, if it's a big old powerful bike, especially if it's one that has like a lot of low end torque, that little teeny wrist accident, not going to be the best situation for you. So you're going to want to consider that very much. You don't need the fastest thing in the world. Another thing to consider when it comes to how powerful the bike needs to be is you should think about what your typical riding scenario looks like, right? Like, are you looking to go, like, are you going to use it to commute to work on a freeway? Right? Do you need that bike to be super steady and stable and not fighting for any kind of gearing when you're going 70 on a highway? Like, yeah, you're going to need a bike that has a little bit of oomph if you really want to be comfortable. Are you going to track it? If you want something powerful on track, you don't even need something powerful to have fun on the track. But are you just going to be riding it around your neighborhood? Are you taking side streets to work? Is the fastest you're ever going to need to go like 45, 50 miles per hour? Maybe you don't need something all that powerful. You can have a lot of fun just twisting that throttle. Like, I got a Ninja 400. It's not super powerful. It's not super underpowered either, but I can kind of just chill and do my thing, and I can still have fun. Like, if I want to just tuck in a little bit and rev it out, I can do that, and it can get up to some speeds. But I mean, what, like, yeah, you know what's cool? An S1000RR. You know what's cool? A Honda Fireblade. Like, ZX14, like, those bikes are dope. Like, I'm not gonna front. Who doesn't want a bike that can go 206 miles an hour? That's pretty fly. Um, but for my riding that I typically do, man, that's a whole lot of bike for very little purpose. So I took that into consideration when I was getting started. Not just from the fact of like I'm just getting started, I don't want anything too big, but just like thinking in general, like what kind of riding am I going to be doing realistically? Like I know exactly the type of riding that I'm going to be doing, and that's a lot of bike. That is a lot of bike that I probably don't need to have so much juice, you know. So I kept that in mind. It's something that everyone should keep in mind going forward. Now I'm gonna. Oh, there we go. Thank you for waiting. Appreciate you. I'm gonna turn real quick right here. Don't hit me. Don't hit me. Ah, there we go. Fabulous. I have no affiliation with whatever this is. I'm just coming over here to fix my camera. Ah, you guys can watch me be a real gooner. Oh boy. Popping into neutral. Just gonna pull this guy out real quick. Yeah, we're taking a break. It's cool. I can collect my thoughts, and also it's hyper windy out today, friends. It is very, very windy. Paddling with that. Boy, is the weight of your bike going to make a difference there. I think I mentioned that in the last video. But in any case, can I turn around right here? Maybe I'll go around that way. Yeah, that's a fun little way to do it. Let's do that. I have no idea. See, this is one of those instances where, like, I'm not super familiar with this parking lot in particular. Oh, wow, way to noob it up. Kickstands, people. They won't let your bike go into gear, which is a very good thing. That is a great thing, folks. Where was I? Ah, yeah, size matters. Where does size matter? So, let's see. I'll tell you as soon as we get up into this traffic. So the next thing to consider, where does size matter? On a motorcycle, how big is the distance between you and the car in front of you? Because, man, guess what? That distance shrinks really, really, really fast. You're going to want to keep a healthy distance. It's not like when you're in a car. When you're in a car, you got 4 wheels, 4 tires down, 4 giant rotors compared to a motorcycle. Granted, it's a lot heavier, but there's way more stopping potential on a car than there is on a motorcycle. So keep that in mind for yourself. You want some distance. You don't want to have to, the less emergency stuff you need to do on a bike, the better, especially when you're starting it. You want to take it nice and slow and easy, and you don't want to have to worry about panic braking. Now, should you practice your panic braking 1,000,000%? Yes. You need to be able to be smooth and progressive with that brake. You don't want to be just wailing on it, especially if you don't have ABS, because, man, it is easy to just grab a fistful of brake. And if you're in any kind of lean or anything, it's going to exacerbate that very much. Next thing to do with moving, where size matters, is how much speed are you carrying into a turn? Big difference. Too much speed into a turn, you might not feel comfortable leaning as much as that turn is going to require. And how much throttle are you going to give it? Well, you don't want to be giving extra throttle into a turn, especially if you're coming in hot, because throttle makes your bike go up. It's a big old gyroscope. The faster you go, the more upright it stays, which is how motorcycles work in general. But if you give too much and it pulls you up, and then you're not doing as much counter steer as you need, well, that's going to hurt too. Maintaining speed is a good deal. By the way, speaking of things when it comes to people on bikes that the bike may be too big or too small, this, that, and the other thing, if you're not following Doodle on a Motorcycle, you should absolutely check her out. She has so many good informative videos on just dealing with bigger bikes and how to manipulate those vehicles. She's taken so many amazing courses. She documents it the whole way. She's like one of the bravest people I've ever seen on YouTube. She really was just willing to be like, hey, this is a learning process, and I'm gonna have people watch me learn. And it's like, it's hard to do that. It's hard to be that confident and be like, hey, people are gonna see my mistakes. People are gonna see my weaknesses, and like, I'm just trying to learn. Like, dude, what a massive inspiration she's been to so many people, including myself. She's amazing. So yeah, go follow her. I threw a card up at some point, I hope, for that, because man, she's phenomenal. So yeah. So another thing where size matters. So a little bit of a funny one, but how big was the last meal you had? I know that sounds weird, right? But riding a motorcycle is like a pretty physical activity. You're going to expend energy doing it, especially if you're trying to maneuver in twisties or anything like that. Even in stop and go traffic, there's a lot of weight on your arms and your chest and your shoulders and your wrists. Your back has to hold you up. You're squeezing the bike with your legs. Like, it's a physical activity. So you should. Oh, look at that plane coming in. Yeah. Over by the airport again. Oh, that's awesome. It's a little bit of a windy day. It's a very clear day for flying, but it's pretty breezy. That landing is going to be fun. But anyway, yeah, you're going to need some energy. You're not going to want to have too much where it's going to make you lethargic, but you're going to want to have enough food in your system where if your body needs to make energy to make decisions with your mind, it has the energy for that, because your brain requires energy just as much as your body, right? So keep that in mind. You don't want to eat too much, but you don't want to have nothing in your stomach. Obviously, you're going to want to be hydrated as well. That makes a big difference. Yeah, when's the last time you had a drink of water? That's another size matters thing. Oh man, there was like one other thing I wanted to talk about. My voice went really high there. Jeez. That was kind of funny. There was one other thing I wanted to talk about when it came to size mattering on a bike, and now I can't remember what it was. Oh yes, that's right. How big is your brain? That's another one. How big is your brain? When you're on a bike, there is so much happening. There are a million cars. There's a million things in the road. There's all the controls that you have to deal with. You don't want to be, you know, Mr. or Mrs. Smooth Brain up in this piece. You're not going to want to be, well, excuse me, sir, person. Am I in a turning lane? Am I in a turning lane? No, that person was paying zero attention. Okay. I was like, am I crazy? Is it me? Am I crazy? It was not me. But anyway, talk about big brains. Not offending anyone, not offending anyone. But you don't want to be Mr. and Mrs. Smooth Brain, right? You want to be Galaxy Brain. You want your brain to be focused, not talking into a microphone like this jabroni. I say jabroni a lot. I just kind of do. So my bad. Yeah. Oh shoot! What a dummy. What a dummy. Anywho, yeah, that wasn't right. That was Smooth Brain. I should have just stopped at that yellow. Yikes! Oh boy. But anyway, here we go. Look, I think I'm gonna make it a point in every one of my videos to give you a fucking terrible example of something, and be the living embodiment of that example. So there you go. That's awful. Don't be that. Don't do that. Oh my gosh. So yeah, be Galaxy Brains. Focus. Pay attention to what you're doing. Be engaged in the ride. Don't be someone who's just chilling, thinking about, I'm gonna check my text messages when I get to this next light. You know what I mean? You definitely want to take it easy. Take it easy, chill. Galaxy Brains. Be smart. Be aware, so you can have plenty of time to react and you're not worried about it. You know. So yeah, I'm gonna throw that out one as my last bit. As I made the least. Oh, here we go. Go ahead. As I made the least Galaxy Brain move ever just a minute ago, like punching through that yellow. What if somebody jumped the gun on the light? I would have been squashed. See? Don't be me. I've been saying that from the get-up. don't be me. But yeah. All that being said, I hope everyone's having a wonderful day and they have a wonderful week ahead of them. And I'm glad that you chose to join me and watch a little bit of this video with me not knowing what I'm talking about. And yeah, so there you go. As always, be kind, do good, and I'll catch you on the next one. Later.